Welcome to Joke Story Trick Live with Michael Kent. I'm him. Let's go. It's Tuesday, everyone. What's up? We made it through another week. Thanks for joining me here. Joke Story Trick Live continues. This is episode 32, and tonight we have NBA sports writer Alex Kennedy. I met Alex Kennedy a long time ago. He came to one of my shows with his girlfriend. Now that girlfriend is a wife, and I am super excited to have him here. He has some stories about running in with NBA celebrity. And he gave me just a quick teaser of his story. It's going to be good. I hope everyone here is going to be good tonight. Looks like we've got a cooler. Cameron Zvara, was that a cooler you picked up in pre-show? Yes, it was, my friend. When I come down here an hour before the show goes live because we do the pre-show party on Twitch. And so the pre-show party starts at 8 p.m. And if I just put a couple beers on the table, see, I have my beers here. This is my not beer that's currently, and if I just have one beer and then the other one, it gets warm by the time I need it. So, anyway, a not beer cooler, says Marty. Marty, you've got your own account tonight.
Run for it, Marty!
That's amazing. And Mark DiTullio. Mark DiTullio is a Patreon sponsor. Looks like you were transporting a heart. Shaun is here.
Like a young Sean Connery.
What's up, Shaun? You better label that not beer ASAP. I definitely will. Should it be not beers? Should it be plural? I feel like I have a giant marker. After the show, I am doing that. I should have it nice, though. I should make it like nice writing, like a big sticker. Not beer. Next week, my friends. Next week, it'll be there. Anywho, it's good to have everyone back. Let's get going with the show. And that starts with your stupid news. All right, this first story is actually a national news story from my neighborhood. A man here in Hilliard, Ohio, built a backyard squirrel bar with 7 varieties of nuts on tap. By offering 7 varieties of craft nuts, he's sure to attract all the hipster squirrels. They have bushy beards and bushy tails. But I do have to say this, nuts are always free at the bar, so this guy's business plan is horseshit. In Florida, a beachgoer found 78 pounds of cocaine that washed up on the beach. We tried reaching the beachgoer for comment, but she was on her way to an important speech. In Australia, this is scary. A woman's blocked toilet was caused by a family of snakes. The plumber called to the scene said, if you're experiencing snakes in your toilet, stop eating snakes. I feel like every week we have an Elon Musk story. This week is no different. So this week, Elon Musk's brain implant is working in pigs to provide a Neuralink to the pig's brain. Yeah, the pig is already receiving ads on his smartphone for items he only was thinking of buying. And finally, from Scotland, another animal story. The world's most expensive sheep has just been purchased for $490,000. In related news, a man in Scotland is selling $500 euros. That has been your stupid news. Craziness. I'm tired of these MF snakes and these MF toilets. Who's Veggie Tones? Is Veggie Tones Tony?
My name is Tony Montana.
And then we've got Taylor Hurte here.
Taylor to the plate!
Yeah, someone got fleeced bad. Oh my God, Marty.
Run for it, Marty!
You better run for it, Marty, because that was a horrible joke. It's so good to have everyone watch, and I really do appreciate it. Listen, if you are doing me the honor of watching on YouTube tonight, please do me a favor and click that subscribe button. And when you do that, make sure you also click the bell icon next to it. And that way you'll never miss a show. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, please do the same and follow me because every set of eyes helps. And I greatly appreciate it. With all that said, let's teach you how to magic.
Teach me how to
magic.
Teach me how to
magic.
Teach me how to
magic.
You ain't messing with my
magic.
Tonight, we're going to teach you a trick with rubber bands. This is a trick that I learned when I was young, and it's very simple, but we're going to do a more complicated version of it as well. The idea is this. The rubber band starts on these two fingers. When I snap my fingers, it jumps to the other two fingers. It's the jumping rubber band. I have a lot of people I show this to, they say, oh, I know how to do that, and then they can't remember how to do it. So I'm going to teach you how to do it. Remember, it starts on these two fingers, you snap your fingers, and it jumps to the other two fingers. So that's variation 1. Here's variation 2. This is kind of fun. Variation 2, I want you to remember that green is on this side, purple is on that side. So green is over here, green is over here, green is over here. No, green is over there, purple is on this side. They've switched places. See, they switched. We'll do that again. One more time. The purple is over here, purple is over here. There they go. Purple switched to over here. And so here's how this works. This is a very simple trick that you can do with hair ties, with rubber bands, anything that has a little bit of elasticity to it. Really doesn't even have to have elasticity, just has to be a circle around this size. Okay, so here's how this works. So Cameron says, I only have one rubber band. Hold up, let me go unwrap my broccoli and get the other. If it's a twist tie, you're gonna have to make it into a loop. And then it's not going to work as well. So twist tie is going to be tough. So, okay. And the broccoli rubber bands are usually really thick, so it won't necessarily work. So from your palm side, that's where you're going to pull. You're going to pull from your palm side and stick all your fingers in this loop. So you've got a big loop here, stick all your fingers into it, and then let it go on the fingertips. Okay. So it's on, you start it with it around these two fingers, you pull it all to your palm side, close all your fingers, and then you let it go so it rests on your fingertips. Now the only thing left to do, super easy, all you have to do now is open your hand. And when you open your hand, it jumps over to your other fingers. So let's look at that again from this side. Remember, it's resting on my fingertips. When I open my hand, it jumps to the other fingers. So you pull, you open, and you do it. Now if you want it to jump back, you do the exact same thing. You pull, all the fingers go in here, and you let it sit on those fingers. When you open your hand, it jumps to the other fingers. So, next, we're going to learn how to make them switch places. So, you pull that one, and you pull that one, and you're gonna find the circle where the Venn diagram is the same right here. And you're gonna put all your fingers where the two rubber bands overlap. And then when you open, they switch, okay? So again, you pull this one, you pull this one, and there's that area right here, this triangle in the middle. That triangle in the middle is where you're going to put all your fingers, and then you do like before. You let those all just rest on your fingertips, on your fingernails. And then when you open your hand, they switch places. Okay, so again, you pull open, you pull open. You want your fingers to be inside of both of them, and then they switch places. And if you've done that correctly, I have successfully just taught you how to magic.
Taste me how to magic. Taste me how to magic. Taste me how to magic. You ain't messing with my magic.
There you go. I hope that worked for everyone. Let me know if it didn't. Write to me. Tell me if it didn't work. I love to hear that type of thing. Shaun Brown says Venn diagram and a magic trick. Wow. Yeah. So, you've got the two circles, and when they come together, then that's how it works. That audio is still 10 out of 10. I'm surprised I haven't gotten a copyright flag on that yet. I guess I've changed it just enough to be my own. And that is my voice saying magic. And not only that, it's my voice saying magic from like probably 10 years ago, because I created that for a bit in my show that I never did. So I've had that song on my computer for 10 years. It is fair use because it's parody. It's covered under parody law. A bonus story. There are so many bonus stories in these episodes. And here's a bonus story for you. We have 2 new camera angles, and I'm using this one for nothing but emphasis, because this is good for my virtual magic show, because what I do is I get some really good close-up zoomed in, but I don't have a good reason to use that camera. This one's cool because you can see the whole studio, But this, what do I do with this? I don't know what to do with that. So maybe we need like remember the dramatic squirrel? Maybe we need the dramatic squirrel noise when I go to that. Dun, 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 like that or something. I don't know. Gosh, I'm rambling. Let's do a joke. Okay. It's time for jokes. Let's tell some jokes. It's time for that. This week, I wanted to do all jokes that were themed on a genie. So here we go. This is, let me see. You know what? I don't think this is. This is strange. I'm looking at my teleprompter right now, and it doesn't. I'm going to read this joke, and I feel like it's not the right joke. This is embarrassing. All right, this is going to be. This one's going to be interesting. A man walked into a restaurant with a full-grown ostrich behind him. As he sat down, the waitress came over, asked for their orders. The man said, "I'll have a hamburger, fries, and a Coke." Then he turned to the ostrich and asked, "What's yours?" "I'll have the same," said the ostrich. A short time later, the waitress returned with the order, saying, "That'll be $6.40, please." So the man reached into his pocket. He pulled out the exact change for payment. The next day, the man and the ostrich came again, and the man said, "I'll have a hamburger, fries, and a Coke." The ostrich said, "I'll have the same." Once again, the man reached into his pocket. He paid with exact change. This became a routine until late one evening, the two entered again. "The usual?" asked the waitress. "No, it's Friday night, so I'll have a steak, baked potato, and a salad," said the man. "Same for me," said the ostrich. A short time later, the waitress came back with the order and said, "That'll be $12.62. Once again, the man pulled the exact change out of his pocket, $12.62. He put it on the table. The waitress couldn't hold back her curiosity any longer. "Excuse me, sir, how do you always manage to come up with the exact change out of your pocket every time?" "Well," said the man, "several years ago, I was cleaning the attic and I found an old lamp. When I rubbed it, a genie appeared and offered me 2 wishes. The first wish was that if I ever had to pay for anything, I would just put my hand in my pocket and the right amount of money would always be there." "That's brilliant," said the waitress. "Most people would wish for $1 million or something, but you'll always be as rich as you want for as long as you live." "That's right. Whether it's a gallon of milk or a Rolls Royce, the exact money is always there," said the man. The waitress asked, "One other thing, sir. What's with the ostrich?" The man sighed. He paused and he answered, "My second wish was for a tall chick with long legs who agrees with everything I say." Man, I knew there was going to be a genie in there somewhere. Okay. That was the theme for this week. I wanted to hear your best genie stories. So, your genie jokes. So here are a few submissions from listeners. This first one is from Patreon subscriber Mark DeTulio.
Mark.
3 men were trekking through the desert and they came across a genie. The genie was standing at the top of a slide and he said, "You may each go down the slide, asking for a drink. When you reach the bottom of the slide, you shall land in a huge glass of that drink." The first man went down yelling, "Beer!" Plop. He landed in a kiddie pool full of his favorite lager. The second guy went down the slide yelling, "Lemonade!" Splash. He landed in a giant glass of ice-cold lemonade. The third guy went down the slide yelling, "Wee!"
You lose!
Okay. Because it's pee. It was a pee joke from Mark. Mark had a pee joke. Next, we have a joke from Alex Madsen. A kid finds a magical lamp. He rubs the lamp and a genie appears and says, "What is your first wish?" The kid says, "I wish I were rich." The genie says, "It is done. What is your second wish, rich?" Okay, that's a...
Oh, gosh, that...
You know, it's not funny. That was a dad joke, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Next up, Dennis Alm says, a pork chop walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve food here."
That's so funny. The last time I heard that, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur.
That one's kind of old. Okay, another one. Alex Madsen says, a weasel walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "Well, I don't see many weasels. What can I get you to drink, Mr. Weasel?" "Pop," goes the weasel. That's from last week. That's a joke from last week. Okay. This is from regular viewer Allison Landis. Where's Allison Land? I have a... There we go.
Allison.
There you go. This is one of my favorite genie jokes. This is an old one, but a good one. A guy walks into a tavern. As he walked up to the bar, he noticed a 12-inch man playing the piano. So he asked the bartender, "What's that all about?" Bartender told him so that he would tell him later. He told him he would tell him later. So the guy asked the bartender for a drink. The bartender said, "Before you get your drink, you get to rub the magic beer bottle and make one wish." "Okay," said the guy. He went over to the magic beer bottle and he rubbed it. Poof, out came a genie. The genie, of course, said, "You have one wish." The guy thought about it and he wished for $1 million. A cloud of smoke filled the room, and then both the genie and the guy disappeared. In a few minutes, the guy reappeared back in the bar with $1 million ducks all around him. The guy was astounded and said to the bartender, "Hey, I didn't want $1 million ducks." The bartender replied, "Do you think I wanted a 12-inch pianist?"
That's so funny. The last time I heard that, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur.
Okay, I'm only using that one. It is a good joke. It's a good joke, but I asked on my Facebook for genie jokes, and 4 different people told me that joke. So that's the deal with that one. Welcome, Christopher Morrow. He just made it in. Thanks for joining us, Christopher.
Ah, Chris.
We are telling genie jokes. Here's another one from Esper Boy. Jeff Bezos was cleaning his bedside lamp when a genie popped out. The genie said, "One wish only, my good sir." Jeff Bezos said, "Whatever you want, just name it." That's a good joke.
That's so.
Nope, not that one. This one.
Oh, gosh, that's funny.
Yeah. I actually think that one is very funny. Okay. This is my favorite submission of the week. It comes from Josh Shanowski. Josh says, "Why was the genie angry? Because someone rubbed him the wrong way." That's a good joke. Hey, listen, I want your jokes on the show next week. So send me your jokes. Go to michaelkentlive.com/jokes to submit a joke, or just send it to me on Facebook or Twitter, whatever you want. It's michaelkentlive.com/jokes. But now is the time to choose a completely random joke from one of my old joke books. So let's bring up the wheel of jokes. All of the things on the wheel are jokes, joke books that I own for some reason I've kept. And we're going to use Christopher Morrow, who just showed up. You're going to play the game today. Let's spin the wheel, see what book. Reader's Digest. Oh no. I was hoping it would never land on this one. Oh God. Okay. So there is another bonus story with this one. This is Reader's Digest from September of 2003. My late grandfather gave this to me because this has a big article about why laughter heals the brain and how medical doctors, neurologists were using comedy and humor to help heal their brain patients. So he says page 42. You don't even know what page the laughter is the best medicine is on yet. And I don't either. So we're going to find out. This has a whole bunch of, this is all joke content. So I have to find the actual like laughter, the best medicine. I used to love reading the Reader's Digest when I was a kid. It was like, let's see, odd jobs, laughter. It's in here somewhere. I thought I saved it. Okay, here we go. This is a joke from Conan O'Brien. Conan says, a study in the Washington Post says that women have better verbal skills than men. I just want to say to the authors of that study, duh. So the irony in that is that I completely flubbed reading that story. I'm going to give you a bonus one. Here's a bonus one. Okay, I went on a 45-day diet. It's going great. I've already lost 30 days. Okay. That's the wheel of jokes. Let's get rid of that wheel. Oh my gosh. Thanks for helping out, Christopher Morrow. What's up, MAB? I assume that's chopping broccoli, the 2020 diet. That's right. That's the 2020 diet is exactly what they just described. It's been 6 months, but it feels like 10 years. Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. It's time we've done jokes. It's time to do a story. So this is a story I've only told once in my life. I've literally told this story once in my life. And it's a crazy story. I told it on a storytelling show that I did a few months ago here from my basement. And back in the probably about the time when that Reader's Digest came about 2003, maybe 2004, I was doing a lot of restaurant magic. I was strolling 4 nights a week in different restaurants around Columbus, Ohio. And I did Buckeye Hall of Fame Cafe, which was a great gig. I loved the gig, but I also did Dave & Buster's, which is an adult arcade many people know. And I would do that Friday and Saturday night. It was crazy. I was a single guy. I was like 22, 23 years old. And I was going in there every Friday and Saturday night for 2 hours. And I think I would make like, I don't know, I'd make like $150 or something from the restaurant. And then I'd make tips. Sometimes I'd make just as much in tips as I would from the restaurant. It was a good gig for a young single guy. And it was always a good time. The vibe in Dave & Buster's when I would perform in there was crazy. There were lots of bachelor parties and bachelorette parties that would just tip like crazy. Everyone's used to spending money at a game place anyway. And whenever there was an energy, like something was happening in the restaurant, it would spread around the room. And this was also around the same time, 2003, 2000. The Blue Jackets, the Columbus Blue Jackets is our NHL hockey team, and it was brand new. Nobody knew anything about the Blue Jackets. It was just, it hadn't really caught on here yet. This was not a hockey town back then, and it's still arguably not a hockey town. I guess, whatever. But this one night, this rumor started happening, and I was in the restaurant, and I heard it there. The rumor was spreading around. Hey, the Blue Jackets are at the bar. Yeah, the new rookie, Rick Nash. Rick Nash is at the bar. He's their new rookie. He just signed this huge contract, and he's at the bar, and they're partying and hanging out, and they're all here. You should go see him, And so it was maybe like 9:00, and I was super excited there was just a buzz in the restaurant that night. I was super excited doing the strolling magic. And after my gig at 10:00, I went up to the bar to see what was going on, and they're all there. They're in like Blue Jackets warm-ups. And there were a few of them. I can't remember how many people were there. And next thing I know, I'm sitting down, and Rick Nash is buying me a drink, and I'm doing magic for Rick Nash, the Blue Jackets' new star rookie, right? Like this new famous person in town is buying me drinks, and like it was fun because I would do a trick, and then he'd be like, "That's amazing, another round on me," and he's like setting up the whole bar with drinks, and we had a great time. I think I only had like,
welcome to the club.
I think, hey, thanks, David Lucas. I greatly appreciate you joining the Patreon. Thanks for being part of the club as a gold sponsor. So I'm sitting there at the bar, and I think I only had one drink. Had a great time though. I was doing magic for everyone, and I left, and they were still partying when I left. Didn't think twice about it. The next Friday I came in, and the manager sent a note to the hostess. Hostess said, "Hey, the manager wants to see you. He's in the back." So I go back to his office, and he said, "Hey, you were in here last Saturday, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Did Rick Nash buy you a drink?" I said, "Yeah, he bought everyone drinks. The Blue Jackets were here. They were buying everyone in the bar drinks." He goes, "Michael, that wasn't Rick Nash." He goes, "Those weren't the Blue Jackets. They ran out. They skipped out on a $3,000 bar tab." And all the blood just ran out of my face. He goes, "I need to know everything you know." And so I told him, I was like, the whole restaurant was talking about it. I didn't know they were wearing Blue Jackets clothes because nobody knew what nobody cared. Nobody knew what the Blue Jackets looked like. The guy was just buying drinks for everyone. And he said, "I am this close to firing you right now." And I kept my gig there. I kept my job. One of the bartenders, I knew the bartenders, they were friends of mine, and one of them got fired over this. And he was an amazing bartender. But it just goes to show what happens when you live in a hockey town that nobody knows about. You end up $8,000 worth of booze to absolutely no one, just scam artists. So absolutely crazy memory. And speaking of sports, I am very, very excited about tonight's guest. My guest tonight is an NBA sports writer. He's currently writing for Hoops Hype, but he started he was writing for Hoops Hype. He started his own deal. We're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but he's covered the National Basketball Association for the last 10 years, and his work has been featured on websites like ESPN, Yahoo Sports, Sports Illustrated, Bleacher Report, and in print publications like USA Today and many Gannett newspapers. This is the crazy part. So he started covering the NBA as a teenager. He became one of the youngest professional journalists in the industry, and his popular Twitter account, this is nuts. His Twitter account has been featured in video games like NBA 2K14, 2K15, 2K16, 2K17. So like when players would advance throughout the game in the game's career mode, they would get his tweets in the game. That's crazy. I can't believe that. Everyone, please welcome to the show my guest, Alex Kennedy. What's up, Alex? How are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. That was a great story.
Tell me, awesome. Thanks, man. It was absolutely nuts. I was scared. That manager of that Dave & Buster's back there scared the crap out of me. He was a big dude, and that wasn't the only time I got yelled at. There were several stories from back then. But tell me about your new business. You're not writing. Are you still writing for Hoops Hype, or have you?
No, so I left Hoops Hype and USA Today and joined basketballnews.com. It's a new venture. It actually just launched last week, but yeah, wow. Basically I'm doing similar articles, podcast, videos, the same kind of content, but I'm the chief content officer over there. And then actually it's pretty cool. So in addition to hiring journalists and writing myself, we also have a number of current and former NBA players who are on our staff. So I don't know if any basketball fans are watching, but Kenyon Martin, James Posey, Etan Thomas, Vinny Del Negro, they're all writing for us. And
I know
podcasts.
All those guys.
Yeah, of course, right?
Look, I'm going to tell you right now, Alex, I was excited to have you on the show because I know nothing about basketball. And so there is zero chance of me knowing about your story, but I'm going to learn as if, with my basketball virgin ears.
No worries. I talk basketball all the time, so it's no big deal. I like talking other things.
So you've got actual NBA current players, or are these retired players?
Yeah, so some are retired, some are current. Like Troy Brown Jr. from the Washington Wizards. He's one of our writers. He's going to be hosting a podcast with another player actually pretty soon here. So yeah, it's been really cool. I mean, the current players have a lot on their plate. So we do have a lot of retired players on our staff, but yeah, there are some current players who are doing stuff with us too. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, there are so many podcasts and different, places out there where people want players' content. Players have had so much success putting out their own podcasts. So we're basically creating a podcast network, but also a website where they can write, put out videos. We want to do some long form content like documentaries, web series. So yeah.
How are you keeping them like in check from writing like craziness that's going to get them canceled on Twitter?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's funny because they have full creative control. So, I don't want to be censoring them too much, but at the same time, we try to help them. We offer suggestions. I'm editing all of the articles and brainstorming with them. So I think, typically they do a pretty good job of, keeping that stuff, they're in the public eye all the time. They're used to their words.
A lot of them have done media training already just for post-game interviews and stuff.
Exactly. So they know what not to say for the most part.
For the most part, I'm sure. So let's play a quick game. You name a NBA player and I will tell you what basketball team they play for. Okay? So go ahead. Just give me let's do maybe 5 or 10 of these.
Let's start easy.
Okay.
LeBron James.
So LeBron James is in LA, but he used to be here in Cleveland, but LA's team is the Lakers.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. So we started easy. It's going to get progressively harder.
Okay.
Jimmy Butler. Let's go there.
Oh, Jimmy Butler plays for the Jimmy Butler is the star rookie out of Dallas. He plays for the Dallas Trail Stars.
That's right. No, I'm just kidding. It's the Miami Heat.
Heat, where LeBron was when he left the first time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you have a little bit of knowledge. You're okay.
Okay. All right. So we're 1 for 2.
There's a game on right now, a big game 7, and this guy's been amazing throughout the playoffs. Yeah. Jamal Murray. Do you know where
Jamal Murray?
Of course, right? Yeah.
Okay. Portland?
No.
Oh, no.
The Denver Nuggets.
Denver Nuggets. I just hadn't gotten there yet. I was talking about the news. I was going to say Portland. A guy died there on the news the other day, I was watching that before I turned to the NBA playoffs where the Denver Nuggets were playing. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm that counts. I'm 2 for 3. Go ahead.
Okay. Let's see. Try to think of Bradley Beal. That's another little bigger name.
Bradley Beal is the white guy.
Nope. I love the confidence.
I thought the name Bradley for sure was giving me context clues.
Yeah.
Dang it. Okay. Bradley Beal plays for an East Coast team.
Yeah, Eastern Conference team. Yeah,
Eastern Conference team. So he plays for St. Louis.
Nope, no St. Louis team.
I lose this game.
This is a fun game. I like this.
This is ridiculous. I might be able to name like 2 or 3 players from like the 90s when I was growing up.
Yeah.
But no, it just goes to show none of the names that you reference I'm going to know. So you're not in what they call the bubble. So the NBA is doing something very similar to what the NHL is doing in that they're keeping the players quarantined down at Disney World, right?
Yeah, so they have the bubble at ESPN's Wide World of Sports at Disney. It's funny because I live in Orlando, so I'm right by the bubble. I'm just not in it. So it's been interesting. It's kind of strange having the whole league basically in my backyard, and I'm not able to go cover the games or anything.
Yeah, you can't even like interview people unless they leave the bubble, and then they can't play for 3 days or whatever.
Right. So it's a lot of phone interviews, a lot of Zoom interviews, things like that. But yeah, it's interesting. I have a lot of friends that are in the bubble, and I'm hearing their stories, and they're away from their families for months. People are talking about how the players have been away from their family and friends for a long time. They at least got to have their relatives come in the second round of the playoffs. The media members, some of them have been there, they're going to be there 5-6 months without any break.
Gosh.
It's crazy. Yeah.
That is nuts. I was watching on Twitter of like some of the meals that they're getting. And it's kind of mixed reviews. It's all over the place. Some of the guys are like, I can't eat this because they have to eat what the chef that's there makes for them. That's all they get. They can't go and leave and go to a restaurant. And isn't there something with where like the media is having to wear proximity sensors to make sure they don't get too close to each other? That's crazy.
So they're getting tested every day. And they're wearing masks in there just to be safe, but they haven't had a single positive test, so it's working well. But yeah, they have proximity sensors, and players, team employees, media, they're all wearing them. If you come within 6 feet of someone, it starts beeping to try to encourage social distancing. And yeah, the meals have been interesting. The media, they're like, yeah, it's free food, we're fine with it. The players with their bougie taste, they're the ones that are complaining a bit.
Yeah, the ones with the big contracts are like, I can't eat this. Yeah. Meanwhile, the rookies are like, this is amazing,
right,
steak
exactly.
every day. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, like the proximity sensor thing has to be super expensive. I can't imagine how they're doing that. But to the NBA's credit, they were the first league that they had one case, and they were like, nope, that's it, we're shutting down. That was like in March or something. That was so long ago. They were just like, one case, we're done. And then meanwhile, you got like some other professional sports leagues where it's become a real problem because the teams have to travel.
Yeah, one thing that's not being talked about, it was March 11th, I remember, and people don't realize that the NBA shut down, and then it wasn't even just they were the first professional sports league. They were the first real business to kind of take a bbig stand and say, we're shutting down. I remember Disney World was open around that time, and then like in the next day, you saw all the amusement parks closed. You saw, it was a chain reaction. And so the NBA taking that step was huge for, all businesses, really.
So I had a full schedule of live performances all over the country, and March 10th, 11th, and 12th were the 3 days that they all got canceled.
Yeah.
And that was before anyone wanted to do virtual shows or anything. And I remember those 3 days were that was like the shock of okay, we have to take this stuff seriously. The NBA just canceled. So that's nuts, man. That's absolutely crazy. Tell me about how your tweets got featured in a video game.
Yeah, I've been tweeting for a long time. I'm really early on to Twitter. I really love tweeting and, about games, interviews with players, things like that.
Yeah.
Someone from NBA 2K reached out to me and they said, we're building this thing called My Career Mode where, you basically create a player and then put them through the game and they're trying to get drafted and all these different things. And we want have actual Twitter accounts in the game so that as you're playing as this character, you're getting feedback and it's like you're getting covered by the actual media. So I said, that's a really cool idea. And so they basically took my, username. I asked me for a picture. So I submitted it. And then the tweets are all automated. They have like a bunch of ones that it gets randomly assigned.
Yeah.
But to this day, first of all, it gave me some real street cred with like my nephews and nieces and things like
I'm
that.
sure.
I automatically got cooler, but I have people to this day who are like, oh, I know you from NBA 2K. And that's like one area where I've gotten so many followers from that. It's really cool.
Yeah. So people see you on the game and say, I wonder if that's a real account. And they're like, holy shit, that's real.
Yeah, and people will DM me. They'll screen grab something where like I was really mean about their character in the game. Like I was trash talking and criticizing them, and they were like, "Wow!" And I'm like, "I promise, I'm much nicer in real life than I am in 2K."
I wrote that stuff 8 years ago. It's okay.
Yeah,
you can relax now. Yeah, that's really funny. So we talked about this a few days ago. You told me you have a killer story. I can't wait to hear it. So I'm gonna make you full screen here so that you can just take it away. What do you have for us, Alex?
All right, so my story is the time I thought I was going to get beat up by an NBA player. There were a number of times where, you talk with players and maybe you ask a question that they don't really like, and it gets kind of, confrontational, and they raise their voice a little bit, and it's very awkward. It's really the worst thing. It's kind of like the equivalent of bombing when you're, a journalist, because everyone looks at you. I feel myself turning red. It's really humiliating, and
everyone's right there.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, tons of journalists and players, everyone, PR people, they're all in the room. So that's the worst case scenario. It happened once when I was in Orlando. I once saw a player throw lotion all over a reporter because he got angry about something after a game. Because remember, we're in there like 15, 20 minutes after a game. So guys are emotional. They're upset about losses. So that's kind of just to understand, that it's the worst thing that could happen. So this is my story is in 2009. It's the NBA playoffs. I was 19 years old. I think it was either my first or second postseason covering, the playoffs. I'd been to NBA games, but I hadn't been to many playoff series. But it was in Orlando. The Magic were playing the Celtics, and I wanted to interview a player named Kendrick Perkins, he was a center for the Celtics. He was having a great series, and even though I hadn't covered a lot of playoff games, I had a number of different relationships with people around the NBA. So I had talked to his manager and different people in his camp about setting up an interview, a one-on-one interview for after the game. Unfortunately, the Celtics lose the game, but I'm still scheduled to talk to Kendrick after the game. So that always sucks as a sports writer because, you're hoping to get this great interview from a guy. And if they lose, you don't really know what mood they're going to be in, if they're going to be upset, what the vibe in the locker room is going to be like. But I'm thinking, okay, it's a positive article. It's about how well the guy is playing. This is going to go well, even though they lost.
Right.
So I go into the locker room, and there are a bunch of journalists surrounding the player. And so, basically in those situations, you wait for the scrum to kind of finish their interview, the press conference type feel.
Yeah.
They move on, and then I would walk in, do my one-on-one interview because it was already set up and arranged. So media moves on. I walk up, and, I shake his hand. I said, good game. We're doing a one-on-one interview. I set it up with Calvin, blah, blah, blah. And we're good to go. He was all about it. He was saying, okay, thank you. I appreciate you doing this. So we start talking. I take my recorder out. I'm holding my recorder up. Rajon Rondo, who's a point guard for the Celtics, was right behind. He's one locker over, and he's looking at me, and I could tell he's not happy. Now, granted, again, they had just lost an important playoff game. Guys are emotional. It's 15, 20 minutes afterwards.
So this isn't even a guy you're talking to.
No, so I'm not even interviewing him. I'm interviewing his teammate and one of his best friends, to keep that in mind. Rajon and Kendrick are very good friends.
Right.
So I'm doing the interview with Kendrick, and then Rondo steps in, and he says, he already talked to the media. He already talked. What are you doing? He already talked. And just being he's kind of very frustrated.
Being protective.
Exactly. And I get it. He's looking out for his guy. He's thinking, he already talked. He doesn't want to do this. We just lost. Why are you bothering him? Well, Kendrick starts telling him, it's fine, man. It's fine. It's cool. It's cool. Don't worry about it. So I continue doing the interview, and I'm holding the recorder and just, kind of look away. It's awkward, but I keep asking questions. And then Rondo gets even more frustrated. I said, he already talked. He already talked to the media. What are you doing? And smacks my recorder out of my hand, and it goes on the ground. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I start crying. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't cry. But I said, are you serious, man? Like, are you serious? I couldn't believe it was actually happening. And Kendrick says, calm down, man. Don't worry about it. But by this point, he's raised his voice.
To you or to Rondo?
Yeah, the Rondo. Yeah.
Okay.
Kendrick was telling Rondo, don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
It's fine. It's cool.
Yeah.
But by this point, he already smacked the recorder. He's raising his voice. So everyone in the entire room, players, PR people, coaches, ball boys, everyone, equipment managers, they're all just staring. And I was so humiliated. My face turns red.
Oh,
and then a PR person comes over, and, Rondo's still very fired up and angry that I didn't listen when he was trying to shut the interview down.
Yeah.
So I was just feeling so uncomfortable. And then the PR person basically said, all right, come on, we got to go. Interview's over. Trying to de-escalate things. So I leave the locker room, and to this day, I haven't tried to interview Rajon Rondo or anyone near him again just to be safe.
Have you been in the locker room with him?
Yeah, I have. I've been in the locker room with him, and I will say, I haven't had any negative experience with him. I think it was a heat of the moment type of thing where
Yeah, he probably doesn't even remember it.
I guarantee you he doesn't remember it. It's after a playoff game. He had much bigger things, and he was looking out for his guy. I totally get it. He was trying to help his friend out.
Still, how scary for you.
Yeah. I'm thinking this guy's like getting in my face. He's 6'3" or whatever he is. He's angry and smacks my recorder, and I'm just thinking, oh God, what's gonna happen? I'm like, first playoff series, and I'm already fighting with the player. Oh my God, this is insane.
That's crazy. Now, did you ever get the story then? Like, how do you write the story if you don't get the interview?
Yeah, we ended up setting up a phone interview for a few days later because the manager still wanted the story done. It was a positive story about his guy. So we ended up doing the interview over the phone. And he, Kendrick just laughed about it and was like, yeah, he's protective, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, it was, I guarantee you both of those guys probably don't remember it. But for me as a 19-year-old, I was just terrified and mortified that, everyone was staring at me.
That's crazy. Now, did you end up talking with some of the other reporters that were in the room about that?
Yeah. A lot of them. So Rondo's kind of known for being, anti-media. I think part of it is when he was coming up in high school and college, he didn't really get the credit he deserves. In the draft, people talked about how he was going to be a bust and he was criticized. So I think he kind of looks at the media and isn't a huge fan of us. So that's part of it too. So a lot of guys were like, oh, don't worry about it. I went out in the hallway and I was still kind of just like in shock and not really sure what has happened. And they're like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. He gets grumpy. That's just how he is. But yeah, it was one of those things where in the moment I was thinking, I can't believe this is happening. This is so embarrassing. But then as I was walking out of the locker room, I'm thinking, this is a pretty crazy story. Like, who can really say that they almost got beat up by Rondo? Yeah.
And it probably gave you some balls for like the next time you went into a locker room. Cause it's like, it's probably not going to be worse than that this time.
Exactly. Yeah. And no one threw lotion at me. So it could have been worse.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Awesome story. I bet you probably had so many run-ins with NBA celebrities that do you still get nervous or excited about any particular celebrities?
Yeah, that's a good question. So there are some where I absolutely get nervous. I think by now, if I walk by them or I'm talking to them, it's not too bad. But some of the ones that I looked up to when I was a kid, that's where it's still kind of weird. Like, for example,
John Robinson.
Exactly. Just like John Robinson. Here's one. You'll know this. You'll know him. So a year and a half ago, Kobe Bryant followed me on Twitter, and I was as a 13-year-old me was freaking out. And so
that's amazing.
DMing, and he ended up saying
you were DMing with. Now wait, did you slide into Kobe's DMs or did he slide into your DMs?
I reached out to him and I said, dude, I'm the biggest fan. I told him I was a huge fan of the show Detail that he was doing with ESPN. Yeah. And said, it's great. And I said, if you ever want to come on my podcast, let me know. And he said, yeah, actually, that sounds great. Let's do it. So he actually came on my podcast a year and a half ago.
That's amazing.
And we talked for 40 minutes. He was fantastic, gave amazing answers. Wow. And that was one where I was like going into the interview, I was like, oh my God, this is actually happening. And, then I answer the phone and we start the conversation. And I remember feeling really nervous with that one because, it's one-on-one conversation. I had done a ton of prep for it, but that's one where, there's certain players where you're going to feel it. If you love basketball and you love sports, there's certain players where you're going to just feel, if Michael Jordan called me right now, I would be, pretty nervous. But for the most part, I've gotten over it.
That's awesome, man. That's crazy. I don't get starstruck really that much, but there have been a couple people that I have been like. The first time I met Penn of Penn and Teller, the first time I met Penn Jillette, I was shaken. And part of that's because he's a very physically imposing person, as I'm sure all of the NBA players that you interview are. I mean, it's tough to not be intimidated when people are like, 6'6" standing over you. And I think Penn's like 6'4", 6'3", 6. He's a tall dude.
Yeah.
And when I first met him, he was also like physically large.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a scary thing. So you've told us a story, which is great. Do you have a joke?
I do have a joke.
Oh, awesome.
I will warn, it's not a great joke. It's not the best, but it's
all of the jokes on this show are bad, Alex. You don't have to come up to our standards.
That makes me feel a little better.
Yeah.
Hopefully you haven't heard it before, but here's a joke.
Okay.
So a father overhears his daughter saying her prayers, and she's saying, God bless mommy, God bless daddy, God bless grandma, goodbye, Grandpa. And he thought that was kind of strange. That's what did you just say? The next day, the grandpa passes away. And so he goes to his daughter and he said, what was that about? Why did you say that last night? And she just shrugs. So he said, oh, okay, that was weird. A few months later, he's saying they're saying their prayers together, and she says, God bless mommy, God bless daddy, goodbye grandma. And he's saying, why are you saying that? What's going on? Why are you saying that? And he's starting to get nervous. The next day, the grandma passes away. And he goes up to her and he said, you have to tell me what's going on. How is this happening? This is not a coincidence. This is terrifying. What's going on? We need to talk about this. She just shrugs. So a year later, he's kind of moved on from it, still thinks it's very strange, but a year later, they're saying their prayers again. And she says, God bless mommy, goodbye daddy. And he looks at her and says, how do you know? Are you sure? And she just nods. And he says, what do you do? How are you knowing that? What's going on? And he's so confused. The next day, he doesn't go to work. He stays in bed all day, doesn't answer the phone. He's just terrified, doesn't want to even leave bed because he's worried that something's going to happen to him. And hours pass and he's fine. He's feeling fine, not sure what's going on. Well, his wife comes home and she's crying. And he says, what's going on? She said, you didn't hear? Your brother had a heart attack and passed away. Oh, it's so bad. That's all I got.
That's a good joke. That is a good joke.
It's a long build-up for a very small payoff. But
no, that's good. You brought it. Do you have a trick? Do you have a trick for us?
Unfortunately, I don't. I want to learn one, but I'm not cool enough.
Hey, dude, I'm telling you, YouTube. Well,
I know.
You still did what we call in the show the twofer. So we thank you so much for doing that. It's time for the next segment of the show, which is called What the Shit Is This? Okay, so what the shit, Alex Kennedy, is this? This photo is Deshaun Stevenson from the Nets, which is, I assume, a basketball team in the state of New York. If now the people that are watching this right now may notice. Now, I do want to go to the chat a minute because Christopher Morrow said, "Oh, hold on, let me bring that up a little bit." Christopher Morrow said that is a bad good joke. Which,
I'll take it.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. If you look at this photo, and it took me a minute when I first saw this, it looked normal. I'm like, okay, what are we making fun of? The guy's hat and the bow tie, or the rolled up pants, or the yellow socks? What are we making fun of here? And then you realize, oh yeah, to his right and behind him, the dude has an ATM machine in his kitchen. What the shit is this? Is this a normal thing for? How do you get an ATM machine in your own house and in your kitchen? What's the story here?
Yeah, so I remember he posted this on Instagram, I believe, and it went viral, and everyone was asking, why do you have an ATM machine in your house? This is crazy. I've never seen that before. And so actually, he was on my podcast about 2 years ago, and we talked about his NBA career, and, he was one of the guys that entered the NBA right from high school. So it was a really interesting conversation. But then at the end, I said, I have to ask you, that picture went viral. I'm so curious. Why do you have an ATM machine in your house? Yeah. Everyone's wondering. And he actually said his financial advisor and his best friend, his best friend / financial advisor bought it for him as a joke. But he said it actually works. You can get money out of it. He makes teammates use it, and like that, there's a fee involved. He's like, my name is on it. It's all customized. I'm like, that's amazing. I love that it actually works.
Why isn't there a company that makes ATMs for the home? I'm sure there is. There has to be. Yeah,
it's like the perfect pregame thing. Like if you're going out with some buddies, especially depending on where you're going out to.
Alex, I have a quick interruption here. Taylor, one of our Patreon subscribers, has made the point that we are saying ATM machine, which technically is ATM automated teller machine.
It's so funny that you say that. Whenever he was on my podcast, how did I just do that again? When he was on my podcast, I wrote the article, and I had said it on the podcast, ATM machine, and then I wrote the article and transcribed it as ATM machine, and I got so much crap on Twitter. I just did it again. I'm so glad that you brought that up, though, because
everyone says like, ATM machine.
Got it, and I just did it again. So
right. But I feel like if you don't know what we're talking about and you just say, oh yeah, the ATM, okay, everyone knows what that is. Never mind.
Yeah.
Everyone says ATM machine, though. Everyone says it.
Yeah.
So thank you for the correction, Taylor Hurte. Christopher Morrow says he wants one for his kitchen. I don't know. I would want one by the like maybe by the door to my garage, like where I leave to leave the house. I'd want one right there. I can just be like, boom, $20. Although, you know, if it's the kind like most ATMs, you got to sit there and wait for like 5 minutes till it connects to the dial-up internet and all this like, and then you get the $20.
It's a lot cooler when you're an NBA player that has access to millions of dollars, and you're like, oh yeah.
It becomes a novelty that you can just take like 30 grand and throw it in the ATM without the machine. Anyway, awesome. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on, Alex. Tell people one more time your Matt Brockway says, dude, it's not dial-up. It is. They all are. Tell everyone again about basketball news.
Yeah, so it's called basketballnews.com. You know, we write tons of articles. We have a bunch of podcasts, videos, long form content. You can find content from journalists like myself, but then we also have current and former NBA players like Kenya Martin, James Posey, Atan Thomas, Vinny Del Negro, Troy Brown Jr., all names that Michael knows very well.
Yeah, Troy Brown Jr.
Of course. Yeah. You can read articles and, you know, listen to podcasts by them. And we're actually continuing to add players. So over the next few weeks, we're going to have about 3 or 4 new players that are joining us as well. So yeah, basketballnews.com. Check it out. Awesome.
And does Basketball News have Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff set up yet?
Yeah. So Basketball News, we are on Twitter. So check us out there. It's actually BASKETBLL News.
Okay.
Because the actual one was suspended for some reason, which is kind of annoying. And
I know about suspended for some reason. My YouTube was suspended for some reason for 2 weeks, and that was 3 weeks ago, and I'm still not over it.
Yeah, that's annoying. But yeah, follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Alex, it was so good to talk to you. We will check out basketballnews.com. I appreciate you giving us your time tonight, and have an awesome week. So thanks again, Alex. We'll see you later. That was Alex Kennedy. Alex, follow Basketball News on Twitter. Go to basketballnews.com to read the stories, and you can see all of Alex's projects that are all of his writing that's happened there. We've done jokes, we've done stories, we've done tricks, we've done all this stuff. It is now time for the last part of the show. But before we do that, I want to tell everyone just thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. And I'm going to find this graphic here. The only reason this show exists, the way that this show is kept alive, is from my Patreon sponsors. I hate to feel like I'm doing an ad all the time, but it's the truth. You can join for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kind of exclusive content. You get access to stuff that no one else can see, especially at the gold level, the producer level. You get access to see every show. I did a show last night. I'm doing a show tomorrow night for colleges that you actually get to see. And so there's my plug for my Patreon. And with all of that said, let's do a trick. So let's back up for just a minute, because I want to tell you about my childhood for a moment. This kind of sounds like story, but it's not. My brother and I, we both had Rubik's Cubes when we were a kid, but we grew up in the 80s, and Rubik's Cubes sucked in the 80s because there was no internet. As I get into my 40s, like nostalgia is a big thing for me. So I've been collecting toys and things from things that I had as a kid, like my Mickey Mouse ears, right? I've been trying to get these things, and I like to have them on my shelf. It is sort of a bonus story, Tony.
My name is Tony Montana.
Taylor Hurte says bonus story counter 11.
Taylor to the plate.
I do appreciate the count. So in the 80s, if you had a Rubik's Cube, all you could do was mix it up. That's the only thing it did. You couldn't solve it because there was no way to solve it, right? But thanks to the internet, there are websites that you can go to solve a Rubik's Cube. All you do, you find a website to solve the Rubik's Cube. There's a million of them. And you type in what colors you're looking at on which sides, and it tells you how to turn the cube to solve it. And so that's what I've done with this one. So I've solved this one, and I'm afraid to do this, but I am going to mix this up. Here's the problem with mixing up a Rubik's Cube virtually. If you were here, I would hand this to you. And first of all, it'd be weird because this is my house and it's my basement. Why would you be here? But I would hand this to you, and you would shuffle it up. You would mix it up and turn it how you want. But since I'm here, I have to prove to you that I'm really mixing it up. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to look over there, and I'm just going to do this. We're just going to completely randomize it. Every time you make one turn on a Rubik's Cube, it changes 5 of the sides. So then you turn it again, it changes 5 other sides. And then eventually it just changes the whole cube. And every time I do this, it makes a new result. Now, Rubik's Cube nerds call that a permutation. So this is a permutation. All that means is this combination of these colors on this side, on these sides. There's a million different combinations. I say a million, and that's I'm underestimating it. The actual number is like 43 quintillion. It's a 4 with 19 numbers behind it. That's how many permutations there are. It's crazy. It's a thing about, you could give one of these to everyone in the world and have them shuffle it every day for a year, and you would, when you got them back, you wouldn't get 2 cubes of this. I don't know how to make you give a shit about this. It's crazy how many different permutations there are to these cubes. There are more different combinations than there are grains of sand in the world. It's completely, every time I do this, it's completely different. So like, for instance, for me to shuffle this up, every time I do one turn, that's a new thing that statistically has never been done before. This has statistically never looked like this before. This is the first time this permutation has ever existed. So that makes it really difficult for me to solve this cube, which is what I'm about to do, and I'm going to do it in 5 seconds. Here's what it looks like when I solve the cube in 5 seconds. I'm going to count down from 5. Here we go. With my eyes closed. Go. 5, 4, 3, 3. There's a lag on YouTube tonight, on Facebook. There's a lag. 3, 2, 1.5, 1, 0. Shit. It's okay that I didn't solve it. Because look. This is the crazy part. You won't believe this part. Look at this. These cubes match each other. I don't know if you can see this or not, but look. This cube and this cube are a perfect match on this side. If I turn it to this side, look at this. 2 of the sides, this side and this side, a perfect match. These cubes are identical on 3 of the sides. Look at this. They're a perfect match. 4 of the sides, 5 of the sides. 6 sides. These 2 cubes are perfect matches for one another. They are completely identical. But that is not what I wanted to show you. Thank you for the comments. I appreciate that. Thank you for the comments. That's not what I wanted to show you. What I wanted to show you was solving a cube. And so that's what I'll try to do now. Let me get back to here. What I'm going to do is try to look for I want to look for a color that's well represented throughout the whole cube. Okay. Look at yellow. Every side of this cube has a yellow square. So for me to solve this cube, I would have to bring the yellow squares all together on the same side. Watch.
Yeah, we are in the place to be.
Tune in next week. We've got comedy writer Jimmy Mack on the show. I hope to see you then. Everyone, have a wonderful night. Hey friends, over the years, I've had hundreds of unofficial supporters. Now, you can make it official. Join my Patreon, 4 different levels, tons of exclusive benefits, access, behind the scenes, backstage video, access to shows that you normally wouldn't get to see, producer support, credits, shout outs, VIP events, everything you can think of. And you can join for as little as $1 a month. So thank you in advance for your support. I love all of you.